Join Gator great Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. Welcome to a Monday edition of Pot Up Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We got JC here momentarily. He's joining us live in Pittsburgh. And then we'll have Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com breaking down what happened up in Nashville, Tennessee. Not a good day, no question about it. If you missed it yesterday, a lot of good games in the National Football League. If you're a Canadian football fan, which I watched a lot of the Grey Cup last night, it was unbelievable the way it ended. It's crazy how football works sometimes. But the Argonauts of Toronto win the not the World Cup. That's happening as well. But the Grey Cup over Winnipeg, who was kind of like the dynasty of the CFL. We'll take your phone, not your phone calls, but we'll take your texts. I already got 1 million texts here. JC will be joining us shortly. Jeremy says, get ready for the excuses, guys. Rick, JC, if Vandy doesn't belong in the SEC, what does this game say about Florida? I will tell you this. Vandy does not belong in the SEC from a campus facility standpoint. That's the first time I've been there other than playing in 90 and 92. And you don't really – that stadium has not changed since 1992. I could not believe how small it was. I don't know what they're doing with their money, but obviously they're building hospitals and not – they are going to build a basketball facility for their girls and boys basketball teams right behind the scoreboard. They're landlocked, worse than Florida, quite honestly. But anyway, Dan says the CFL MVP breaking down was an awesome moment. I don't know who got the MVP. It may have been the running back from Toronto, but maybe Dan and I were the only people in America watching the Grey Cup. But it was 2 blocked field goals to win the damn game. It was crazy. Andy asked here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law. Shane, Dejon Reynolds has emerged as one of our best receivers. You saw that back in the spring. It took the coaches 11 games to figure it out. Yeah, he's a good player. I know he dropped the one in the end zone. People don't realize the sun, you could not see looking in that end zone back towards the other portion of the field. And I think that had a lot to do with Jason Marshall Jr. fumbling the punt. His technique wasn't great. Should have let it go, but I think the sun played a factor in it as well. Scott says what happened on Saturday is inexcusable. I agree. John says give Todd Golden's team some credit. They had a huge comeback against the semis Friday night. It was great to see. Lauren says they have the biggest endowment in the SEC. What are they doing with all that money? I have no idea, but I could not believe how bad the facility is there. Worst press box I've ever been in. Worst food for the media. Just not good. But hey, they won the game. So we got a lot to talk about today. We'll talk about whatever you want. Before we get to JC here in just a second, Brandon says, Shane, what are your thoughts on the situational football, play calling, clock management, et cetera, when it comes to Napier's offense, even during show concerns on the SEC, what transpired Saturday? I must say it was the first time I've seen football teams spike the ball from shotgun and run guys in motion during hurry-up offense. Also, does AR not have the freedom from the coaches only given? Okay, a lot of stuff there. First of all, I understand if you're not at the game and watching the game, I had zero problems with our end of the half. We didn't run people in motion when the clock was running. Okay, I will say that. Look, here's the thing. I said back in the summer, if Anthony throws for 275 yards or more, we're going to lose a football game because that means we're coming from behind. He made some good throws. He missed some throws. We had some drops. We could not run the football. And for whatever reason, he does not want to run the football in certain games. There were zone reads that he had chances to pull it, did not pull it. I don't know why. I can't tell you the answer to that. And then people, if we're going to stay on the quarterback now, people want to talk about, well, he needs to come back for another year. He's protecting himself. He's going to protect himself running the football next year too, people. I don't know what's going on there. He could have pulled it multiple times the other day. I do know that. So Scott says, Shane, what do you think of AR saving? I don't know if he's saving himself. I don't know if he likes to get hit, quite honestly. I mean, he's a big guy, but he gets hurt a lot. I don't know. So anyway, I mean, a lot of people are complaining. I get it. There's 4 plays that cost the Gators the football game. 4 plays. 3 of them had nothing to do with, there were penalties. If you go back, the Gators have a 27-yard run down to the 4-yard line, I think by Montrell Johnson or ETN. Ty Bowman at wide receiver is not on the line of scrimmage, so it's an illegal formation. I saw it. I was beating on the glass up in the press box, and he was looking right at the official. The official tells you if you're on or off, but he didn't ask. So that play comes back. We have 3 stops on defense on 3rd and long. 3 defense on 3rd and long. We get a sack face mask by Antoine Powell-Rowland. Tremendous play on his part. It just happened. That happens. But then we had another stop on 3rd and long, but Princely decides to hit a guy late in the back after the play is over, so keeps the drive going. The other one is we had 3rd and 15 after we score there at to start the second half, and that it's kind of a phantom holding call on Amari Burney, and then the fumble punt. You take those 3 back, Florida wins the game. Florida's a better team. We moved the ball up and down the field. We could not run it on them for whatever reason. But I've had no problems with Coach Napier calling. I mean, it's not like I'm a homer. I'm not paid by the UAA. It's none of that. I've had no problem. I thought Vanderbilt was horrible in the secondary, watching them from up top. It just comes down to we have some young players that don't have a whole lot of football IQ that did some really dumb stuff in this game. We've been the least penalized team in the league until the other day. We had a ton. We'll let JC in. JC's in, so have JC come on in. But yeah, it was just a couple plays that they got away. Give Vanderbilt credit. They milked the clock. They stayed on the field. We got fortunate to even have a chance to win the game at the end. I'm not sure what Anthony was thinking throwing a 5-yard out route, and I don't know why we even tried to catch that. You got to just know that the game was over. If I was Clark Lee, I would have gone ballistic if Florida hit that Hail Mary. But Andy threw it in the end zone. Threw it in the stands, quite honestly. So anyway, we got a lot to talk about. Joe says, how is everyone just turning a blind eye to how bad our defense is and that unit has shown zero improvement? Look, we should never lose to Vanderbilt. But again, if you've listened to my show since whenever, leading into the season, I said this team will be 6-6, 7-5 would be a tremendous year. And we got excited. We should have never lost to Vanderbilt. I agree with that. But we are who we are. And I don't know how else to put it. I don't know what anybody else is seeing. Yes, we played well against a horrible A&M team. We played well against a horrible South Carolina team that flipped the switch and put it on the Vols Saturday night. JC, good morning. How are you?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you. I'm doing well. Thank you.
And for the people, I've never understood when people say team wasn't ready to play. We took the opening drive and drove it right down their throats. Missed a couple throws at the end and had to kick a field goal. We had plenty. I mean, I don't believe that. We have way too many mistakes, which has nothing to do with being prepared and ready to play. Anyway, all right, JC, how was your weekend at Heinz Field?
Yeah, no, it was great last night. Freezing temperatures didn't affect me that much. You layer up and you get in there, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work going to these games up north. So I wanted to feel what that was like. But QB, I can't help but think that weather did have an impact on some of the teams that played Saturday. I'm not making an excuse for Florida. There really aren't any.
What was wrong with the weather when we played?
Yeah, I mean, I know. I look. Georgia didn't play their best game, and guys like Warren McClendon are talking about weather being. They just want to get out of there. They didn't enjoy it, but I don't really care about that. The thing is that when the important games are played, they're going to be in climate-controlled conditions, and so we will find out who the best teams in the country are. QB, I don't know, man. I mean, 3 teams from Florida had bad days Saturday, and I don't know what a bigger upset is, if it's Navy at UCF or Florida at Vanderbilt losing. I'm not sure which one is bigger, but they were both upsets.
Yeah, I mean, the stats right here, Vandy only had 280 yards of offense. We had 450. You special teams blunder, and the 3 penalties that were – was it 3 or 4 penalties? I think it was 4 penalties, 3 on the defense. They were all on third down that kept drives going, and they ended up getting points on those. And then we had the long run down to the 4 because we had an illegal formation. Those are correctable things. It's amazing we lost them, though, quite honestly. So,
well, it's amazing, but QB, here we are with a game to play. We're looking at the same 6-win season we had last year. And I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer here, but the reality is there are other schools right now with first-year coaches who are having the seasons of their lives. I mean, USC, TCU, LSU. They're having great years, QB, and they were lousy.
They are, but I'll tell you, you know why USC's having the year they're having. It's simple.
Right. Well, they had some players come in. I mean, there's no doubt about it, but that's yeah, sure, and a coach. But, I mean, that's part of it, right? I mean, that's what they were able to do.
No, Caleb Williams is as close to Patrick Mahomes as you'll find. The problem is he can't go pro. He's got to stay another year.
Well, that's good for Southern Cal.
Yes, and they're going to be the 4th team. I guarantee you watch and see. We'll talk about that here in a second. We got a ton of texts here I got to get to. Don't know who this is from. Says unacceptable, embarrassing, not a good sign for this staff's future. I disagree with that. Alan says, we have 0 alpha competitors on this team. I agree, except for Ventrell Miller. You asked what all the great Gator QBs have in common in a couple of weeks. High school champs. I wonder if any champions on our entire – yeah, you learn how to win at a young age. Not saying that you can't get that, but I agree 100% with what Alan says. This is from Daryl. Shane, it's obvious Saturday we weren't ready to play. I just hope Florida wasn't looking ahead to FSU this Friday, because you do that, you'd be in trouble. I don't think we were looking ahead. I just think there were 4 or 5 plays that cost you the football game. We moved the football everywhere. Florida losing to Vandy is mostly on Napier. I don't know about that. I mean, he ain't out there playing and tackling and doing dumb crap. I mean, yeah, he's the head coach. He's responsible. This says a bunch of text here from this gentleman. My friends laughed at me when I said Vandy would beat the Gators. Keep laughing. Knowles crushed the Gators. Stokes got a raw deal from the Gators. He regretted what he said. We'll talk about that in a second. Kentucky has our number. Now Vandy, no. Honeymoon's over for Napier. 2 more years for him. Who's the next coach? Stokes should still be a future Gator. I don't know if Stokes would ever played it down at Florida, quite honestly. I watched some tape on him. He was a 4-star, said some things that he shouldn't have said, whether he was rapping or whatever. They took his offer. Look, y'all wanted Jaden Rashada, you got Jaden Rashada. Okay, everybody can't be happy. So I really don't have a whole lot to comment on that. If the administration and coaching staff thought that was the right thing, it's their choice. They run the program. Are you in the market to buy or sell your home? Darling, we be a realtor with Caldwell Banker M. Paris will value fast, friendly, reliable service. Call her today at 352-562-1411 to help your dreams come true. Speaking with JC on the Titan Ohio line, he's coming to us live from Pittsburgh, and then we'll have Scott Carter really recap the Gator game in Nashville. JC, just talking college football. Well, did you miss the Grey Cup last night, JC?
Yeah, I'm afraid I missed that.
JC, let me tell you something. This is how crazy sports are. Okay, Winnipeg was playing Toronto. Winnipeg is like the Patriots of the CFL. Okay, so check this out. So Toronto is up by 3. I believe it's 3. Or maybe it's 4. I can't remember. They have a field goal attempt with like 30 seconds left in the game to seal the win, or at least make it a touchdown game. it gets blocked. Okay. Winnipeg you only get 3 downs in the CFL. Gets sacked for like an 18-yard loss that would have ended the game, but on the sack, the rusher grabbed the kid's face mask. Automatic first down. Then Winnipeg completes a deep corner route to put them, it was a 1-point game. It was 24-23 to put them in field goal range to win they've won like 4 in a row. Their field goal attempt gets blocked and Toronto wins. So it's just crazy how little plays, just that little bit of face mask on that sack allowed them to have an opportunity to still win the game.
Yeah.
A play here or there, you never know what play it's going to be. But Tennessee, now I was shocked at the outcome, but I've told you multiple times that Tennessee's defense is horrible. Well, Spencer Rattler and the boys put it on them. 63 points. I mean, you can't be a playoff team giving up 63 points. So that offense.
You know who Tennessee is, QB? Tennessee is the 2014 Mississippi State Bulldogs. Big win. They go 9-3, had a number 1 ranking. Everything was great. Then at the end of the year, things kind of fell apart. That's what happened to Mississippi State in 2014. That's what's happening to Tennessee. I feel terrible for Hendon Hooker. Looks like his season is over.
Well, yeah, he's got a torn ACL. His season is over. So
it's just too bad. They had a nice season. I don't think anybody's up there complaining about 9 wins, and that's nice. But thank you very much. We won't be talking about Tennessee anymore. And I was stunned by that South Carolina performance. I mean, we're talking about a team that turned the ball over in ridiculous numbers against Florida. Had no idea what they were doing out there. Come together and put together a game like that in Columbia on Saturday night was extraordinary, and it certainly took, I think, football by surprise. Football Saturday was strange. You had the Vanderbilt issue. You had Navy winning on the road at UCF. You had a great game between UCLA and USC. USC now is in the driver's seat, but they'll still have to beat Notre Dame at home, and then they'll have to beat Oregon in all likelihood in the Pac-12 championship. Now, Oregon loses, let's say, to Oregon State, which isn't that far-fetched. The game's in Corvallis. Then that allows Washington to slip in perhaps if they can beat the Cougs, and then Washington would be the Northern Division representative in the Pac-12 championship. And then we've got TCU pulling out that field goal with the clock running. They just lined up, very cool, calm, and collected, stuffed the ball between the goalposts, but easily could have lost. That could have been it for them, but they stay alive now. They're going to play Kansas State in the Big 12 championship game, and that's not going to be a gimme by any stretch. So it could be another exciting, championship in the Big 12. That conference has been, from top to bottom, I think, the most balanced and certainly the most, interesting as far as I'm concerned this year. But Georgia, LSU, we know what's going to happen there. So I'm not. There's not a whole lot of anticipation. Michigan got lucky to win. Ohio State got somewhat lucky to win as well. I think both those teams are overrated, QB. I just don't know how good they are because neither have been really, in my word, they've been tested, but they've been tested by vastly inferior teams, and they've really not had to play anybody. And now they play each other. One of them will win. The loser, I think, is out.
Well, the loser's not technically out, in my opinion. It's going to because if
Michigan
USC goes down, I mean, Clemson's not out of this thing either now. Obviously, Clemson would have liked for North Carolina, who was upset. The kid dropped a touchdown pass in the corner of the end zone to win the game. I couldn't believe it for North Carolina. John says, I really thought a big point in the game was when we dropped the pick six, and the very next play we muffed the punt. That's a 14-point swing. Yeah. That was it was Kamari Wilson, I believe. And I mentioned on the broadcast, if the quarterback had made an accurate throw to the wideout, he would have picked it. He made such a bad throw that when Kamari broke on it, the ball was thrown so far behind the receiver or in front of the receiver or however, whatever. It was just a bad throw by the quarterback that caused him not to be able to catch that. So the other game.
Go ahead, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry to interrupt.
I think we both predicted Arkansas to beat Ole Miss. I told you that I thought Ole Miss would lose their last 4 games. When they were 8-0, I guess it was. I think they're going to lose to Mississippi State Thursday night. Mississippi State's a better football team than Ole Miss.
Yeah, well, I mean, they'll have a chance on Thursday night. QB, I was just reading over the weekend about, these first-year coaches and all the success they've had. You realize that Brian Kelly had 39 players on scholarship when he walked into that football office in Baton Rouge in December. He had 39 players. And he has 3 freshmen right now that are starting and playing at a very high level. It's just amazing how quickly – that's what I'm saying. Florida fans need to remember that the turnaround can happen quicker than you think at some places. It's happened, and it doesn't always happen. But I think there's hope. Because again, we're looking at 6 wins this year. So 6-6. I thought it would be 8-4. I'm wrong. I don't know if they might be at FSU. They may not. But 7-5 is what we predicted. QB, do you have any issues or concerns about time management with this coaching staff?
No, none whatsoever.
Okay.
Because I've had somebody already ask that before you came on. We tried with our time management at the last game as well. The problem that people don't understand is you don't just drop back and sling balls down there. You got to have a plan. And when you start driving the football and then you get a penalty or you throw 2 incomplete passes, it changes your whole thinking process. And again, I don't think we're a great throwing football team. It's that simple. But I have 0 problems with it. And this has nothing to do. I don't care who's the coach is. I try to look at it for what I would do if I was coaching, and I'd do the same stuff because I don't trust our defense. If you had the 85 Bears over there, yeah, you could take some more chances, but you can't just give up points at the end of a half. That's my opinion. Everybody else has their own opinion.
Yeah. I feel bad for Ventrell Miller. I feel bad he's going to miss the first half of the Florida State game, the senior. That was a tough break there, the targeting. But, Florida is, I don't know. I mean, you're looking at, be a 6 or 7 point underdog, you think, in this game?
They're like an 8 or 9. I don't know who this is from. Yeah. They said Napier calls the same 5 plays. He needs an OC. I disagree. Again, if you listen to my program for the last 2.5 years, a coordinator, doesn't matter if it's the head coach, a coordinator, whoever's calling the plays, can only call what his guys can do. Okay? Not taking shots at anybody. I'm just telling you, I know for a fact that the playbook is not very big. Okay? Leave it at that. Losing Ventrell Miller for the first half and injuries to Pearsall, Torrance, etc. are going to be a challenge to overcome FSU. Yeah.
Hello. I'm here. I lost QB. I lost QB. QB.
Jason, are you there?
I'm here. I'm here.
Can anyone hear me?
I got you, QB. I'm here.
Okay, everybody says they can't hear me on Facebook.
Okay.
Did y'all hit a button, Jason? All right, well, let's do this. Let's take a quick timeout and see if we can get it working. JC, just hang on. You're going to come back out of the timeout, okay?
Okay.
All right, take a timeout, Jason.
Okay.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogra State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Going back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville in North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. We're back with JC, and then we'll have Scott Carter. JC, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I got you now, QB.
All right, JC, I got on our Peachland Dental weekend picks, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte surrounding areas. I went 5-5-1. You went 4-6-1. Is that what your book say?
Yeah, I didn't check. I did it on a napkin at the airport, and I don't know where I put the napkin. But it probably was that, and I'm that's fine. I feel really bad. I mean, the way I just destroyed Vanderbilt Friday, and I think it was rightfully so. But then they come out and play like that and win a football game with that play in that place, in that environment, with those facilities, those players. And now I have to apologize to Vanderbilt. But
it's a dump, dude. There's no apology to it. It's the worst place I've been.
Yeah, it really is. And it makes you wonder, where does that money go? And now I think they've made a recommitment to the football program because we have word that, of course, they're going to start a facility. I'm not here to talk or praise Vanderbilt. I think they've been a taker school, meaning they basically lived off the backs of those who produce in the conference. And they're going to be lucky to enable the enjoyment of the new contract when it comes out. I just think, though, that this was not a good day. And right now, the only thing that could make me feel better about the whole thing is if they come out and beat Florida State. That's going to be tough.
Yeah. John says, QB nationally, this thing keeps going away. Says, QB, speaking nationally, how do you see Ohio State, Michigan playing out? Do you think both teams make the college football playoffs after Tennessee lose? I think they both have a good chance. I think the loser really has a good chance now that Tennessee's out. I think it's all going to depend on TCU keeps surviving somehow, and then USC is the only other one.
Explain something. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Explain something to me. If TCU has a loss and maybe wins the Big 12, or just has a loss and Michigan has a loss, why in the hell does Michigan get any benefit of the doubt over TCU when they have played Connecticut, Hawaii, and Colorado State as non-conference opponents? I don't want to.
Well, I'm just thinking that TCU.
If they lose, they're out of there.
I think if TCU loses and Michigan has a loss, I think they would take Michigan over TCU because they're going to lose to Ohio State, who will be #2 in America. However, don't forget Clemson and USC are still in the mix.
I think USC is for sure. Absolutely. I mean, look at the numbers where they're ranked and so forth. But it could really go into chaos if LSU were to win the SEC championship. Then we've got complete pandemonium at that point. And, after watching these games over the last weekend, why is it so far-fetched, QB? I mean, you didn't see Vanderbilt winning. You didn't see Navy beating UCF. You didn't see – nobody does. Nobody knows. But I just think that if that were to happen and LSU did trip up Georgia – then, you've got absolute chaos. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think anybody thinks that's going to happen. But, listen, Todd Monken, he shut it down. I mean, that Georgia did not want to be in Lexington. They just didn't. It just didn't go that.
Well, they were up 16-0, had the ball 1st and goal from the 1, and 4 tries they didn't make it. And then Kentucky drove 99 yards to cut the game to 16-8. So they could have put it away.
And Will Levis also threw an interception in the corner of the end zone prior to all of that happening. So a lot of ifs and buts. But the thing is, Monken, he did not call one. I mean, where was the throw it? Why didn't Stetson Bennett, wasn't he used down there in the goal line 4 straight runs? So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you don't have to throw it, but it just didn't seem like Georgia was really interested. And that's fine. You can get away with a game like that when you're as good as they are, and they are. And, you know, they'll beat Georgia Tech. But let's hand it to Georgia Tech. Who the hell thought they could hold Drake May and Carolina to 17 points? I mean, it was a crazy weekend, QB. Crazy.
No, it was. It was crazy everywhere in college football. David says on Facebook Live, AR had 400 yards passing him. Had we won, would have been canonized. It wasn't a great game for him throwing, but it was a good game for him. Like I said, if he 170 yards or more, you can bank that we're not going to win the game because we're coming from behind. That's the only reason. This is G asked, do I think UT and Vandy will be more interesting now with Hendon Hooker out? Could be. It's in Vandy. So it's a night game.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. Vandy's got a chance to win 3 in a row. They win, they go to a bowl. How about that?
Go Vandy. I mean, I slaughtered them Friday, but, here they are. So Clark Lee, you got to give him some credit. I mean, I have to. I just, how I feel about Vandy.
Well, they're not a good football team, and we handed them the game. There's no other way to put it. All right, last thing for you, JC, before we get out. Andy asked, what was the percentage of fans that were Gators on Saturday? I'd say about 85% were Gators. I bet there was 35,000 people there tops. Yeah. And I bet 25,000 of them are Gator fans, is my guess.
That's crazy. It's absolutely, it's just craziness. But, hey, at least the Lightning won that night against Nashville in the hockey game. So, Tampa fans. But, QB, I don't know. We'll talk about this on Wednesday. I'll be back. I'm heading to Dallas, though. I'll be there for Thanksgiving, watching the Cowboys and Giants. And who the hell saw 40-7, 40-3, whatever it was, with Dallas and Minnesota yesterday? My God. So you just never know.
Joseph, we're not blaming the quarterback. Relax. He says we're going to be sitting here next year blaming the QB again when the defense can't stop a middle school team. Come on, people. Look, all I can say is this: everybody wants to talk about the quarterback. We all know Anthony's talented. But people say, well, he's running to protect himself. Okay. Well, everybody wants him to come back next year. He's going to be the same player he is now that he was next year as he is now. That's my point. So JC, do you understand what I'm saying? Everybody thinks he's not running the football to protect himself. Well, then if he comes back next year, what's he going to do?
Yeah, I don't know why it'd be much different. I really can't.
I mean, you're still going to protect yourself, right? That's what I don't understand.
Well, look, QB, I mean, it's like you've been saying all year long. This is what you have. It's not nothing surprises anybody. We know what they are. They know what they are. They know we know what they are. And this is what you got. But we have to be honest with ourselves and say, after that Vanderbilt game, what could have looked like a possible 8-4 record is most likely now going to be 6-6, and that was the same record as last year with Dan Mullen. So I don't know.
They were 6-7 last year after they lost the bowl game.
Well, you throw the bowl game. Yeah, I'm talking regular season, but that's the same thing we had last year. So we'll see.
All right, JC, have a good. We'll talk to you on Wednesday.
I don't disagree with the QB. They got to get sulkier on defense. That's all there is to it. That's the fact.
Look, we are who we are. I mean, I'm not surprised. The only reason we lost to Vanderbilt because of 4 plays in the entire game. That's it. We outgained them by 20 yards. They did nothing but play keep away. Give them credit, but it is what it is. All right, we got to get to Scott Carter, get Scott's thoughts.
Okay. All right.
That's JC joins us on the Titan MR hotline. We're now going to go back to the Titan MR hotline, and we're joined by Scott Carter. I think we're joined by Scott Carter. While we're getting to Scott, we got some things here. John says, Shane, if AR leaves, is the 2023 QB currently on Florida's roster? I don't know. it's interesting that for some reason, when I get on Twitter, okay, Scott, are you there, my man?
I am. I've checked on. How's it going, Shane?
I'm good. Joseph says we're crazy. It doesn't matter if it's designed to be an RPO. He's being told, first of all, it wouldn't be an RPO. Those are zone reads. He's being told to give it no matter what. Just go back and look how he handled those reads at the mesh point compared to the last 2 weeks. Okay, well, whatever. All right. I'm going to disagree with you there. How are we doing, Scott?
Well, just logging on, I sense there's some testiness out there.
Well, no. I basically said, look, give Vanderbilt credit. It's a horrible loss for the Gators.
Yeah.
But it came down to 4 plays in the entire game, in my opinion. The 27-yard run down to the 4-yard line gets called back because Ty Bowman's not on the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
After we score the first drive of the second half, we stop them, but we have I think it was a holding call in the secondary and 3rd and long. And there were 2 other plays where Antoine Powell-Ryland had a tremendous sack, but with effort, he grabbed the face mask, kept the drive alive. And then we stopped him on 3rd and long, and Princely decides to go up and hit a dude in the back on a personal foul. And then you fumble the punt. That's the reason you lost the game.
Yeah, I mean, there were a long list of those, Shane, and there's not much way you sugarcoat this one. I thought it was one of the worst losses in recent years, for the Gators, just because of the momentum that they had built, and obviously Vanderbilt on the road. I mean, they hadn't lost there since '88, so you just expected them to come away with the win. But I told everybody before the game, I fully expected them to come out slow. I mean, it is hard to get up and go to the stadium and play a game. But I did expect them to finally work things out and get it going. And it just never happened. I kept waiting like everybody else. And, they just kept making those mistakes that you just went down. And Vanderbilt, I give them credit. I mean, we've seen this Vanderbilt program a lot over the years against the Gators. And they'll be in games but not take it. I thought they made the plays they needed to win the game. And they got a lot of help there, but you got to give them some credit too. So,
yeah, I mean, and I mean, people talk about, the Gators weren't ready to play. I don't buy that. And the reason I say that is because, we took the opening kickoff and drove right down the field on them.
Yeah.
And it's a hard place to play because of the crowd. It's just weird. But I thought we were ready to play. Okay. Yeah. I need help here with my man Joseph. He says, Billy thought we could save the QB runs for FSU. It's not like it's a trick play we're saving. We've been running the QB runs all year. I'm convinced no way his play calling is that different from week to week. If so, that scares me. Look, all I know is I'm watching the game live from up high, the same place you are. And when we run the zone read and Anthony carries his fake out and then he comes back like clapping his hands like that, I read that as I should have kept the football. I mean, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm just telling you, he had opportunities to keep the football the other day and didn't.
No, I totally agree there. I mean, there were some plays, at least that early in the first half, where, after he handed off, I'm thinking in my head, like probably a lot of people, man, if he kept that, he would have maybe been going to the end zone with his speed. But yeah, I don't think it was like any kind of a plan to, hey, Anthony, don't run this game for FSU. That's not going to happen. I mean, that's just not.
That's ridiculous.
No, I mean,
okay.
It's conspiracy theory,
Scott. I just get so upset that these people, like, when you win a game, everybody thinks he calls good play. And like I said, I try to tell people I look at it from both sides of the view. I'm a Gator fan. I look at it from a player standpoint. I try to look at it from a coaching standpoint. I was trying to read this Facebook Live. Tyler says, Shane, you're right. I watched him have wide open lanes and he didn't take off. Yeah, I don't know what the problem was. What drives me crazy, because Scott, you probably get asked the same questions a million times. I get text weekly on this, and it all revolves around Anthony Richardson. There's more to this football team than him, obviously. But people are like, if he gets another year and he comes back, we got these recruits coming in, he'll be a different player. I'm my position is he won't be. He'll be the same player.
Yeah.
What makes people think next year he's going to want to run the football if he's not running it this year? That's my point.
No, I mean, it's a good point. After the game the other day, he was about the last guy out of the locker room. He talked for a minute there before getting on the bus, and he kind of, he did say there. He looked back, and there's probably he could have made some better reads. I think he was talking about what you're talking about here, keeping the ball instead of giving it. Having said that, I mean, this has been the story with Anthony all year, a roller coaster ride. He's definitely improved, I think, as the season's going on. But then a lot of that gets lost when you have a loss like Saturday at Vanderbilt. Again, he threw for 400 yards, but nobody's talking about that this morning.
I mean, we did talk about it earlier, but a lot of it was because we were behind.
Yeah. So, it was the game flow and just what they had to do. But, a lot of it goes back to where I just thought, you can break this game down in 1,000 different ways, Shane. But, I think when they didn't score touchdowns on those early drives, and that just magnified every mistake they made from there on out. And it changed the direct trajectory of what could have been a different kind of game. But, they lost, man. I mean, there's no way around it. It was not a performance that a lot of Florida fans will want to remember.
Yeah, it was a terrible loss, and I just everybody's on me here about it. I have nothing against it. When I look at quarterbacks, whether it's our quarterback or another quarterback on another team, you see guys that know how to play the position. They do the little things that you cannot teach. They have that it factor. I'm not sure he does at the quarterback position. That's just my opinion. Yeah. And because if you have that it factor, people around you feed off of it. And I don't know what I'm trying to say. We got a lot of problems, but again, we win the football game if you take those 4 plays away, and 3 of them were penalties.
He's a classic work in progress, Shane. There's moments on the field where I'm like you. I'm like, man, he's just didn't look right for that position. I mean, he should have done it differently there. Did, of course, he'll make a throw that that only a few guys in college football or any football can make. So he's got that, and that kind of overrides some of the other things. And he talks a lot about wanting to be a leader. And I saw a weird thing on Saturday, after Ventrell Miller got ejected for targeting, Ventrell, that's about as livid as I've seen him in his career at Florida. He walks down, he's throwing his helmet down. And I mean, Anthony ran down and kind of, calmed him down. And I was like, okay, that's a new wrinkle I don't think I've seen from Anthony in that case. But it's just each week he's kind of learning on the job, I guess is the best way to put it. He teases us a lot because of that great talent, but I'm like you, for him to ever fulfill his potential, he's got to make those smart little plays, and that's where the gap is right now.
Yeah. Did they say anything? Well, obviously they didn't. I would be curious what Vanderbilt Clark Lee had to say about the second to last play of the game. What in the world was that official allowing us to get another playoff? I don't quite understand what was going on there.
Yeah, I don't know either, because that was a funky. That was weird. I didn't think that was going to happen either, but I don't think it came up to my knowledge, Shane.
Yeah. So anyway, like I said, this is not on him. I think, to become a leader, all that kind of stuff. I think you are a leader. You're born with that ability to lead, and so I could be wrong. That's just my opinion. Injury-wise, we had a bunch of dudes go out. Any word on them after the game, if they'll be available this week?
Nothing so solid. I mean, I think it's just going to be day to day. I mean, with Pearsall, probably, I don't know, it seemed to me like maybe a concussion or something with him. So, if you're in that protocol, it's going to be, 4 or 5 days at least. So I don't know what will happen there. Burke, don't know. Torrance, I think maybe got his bell rung too. So, yeah, I mean, there's some questions there, Shane. I mean, you look at what they did with the game as it went on with receiver. I mean, I counted with Burke and Pearsall down, with Whittemore not there, and then with Fraziers and Xavier Henderson, I mean, that's 5 receivers they're missing. So just going to be the same story, I think, at Florida State. For them to go over there and do anything and perhaps win that game, they're going to have to get some solid contributions again for young guys who we haven't seen much from, like Dejon Reynolds on Saturday at Vanderbilt. So that's just where they are, man. And now, the storyline around that game, we were talking last week, I had a chance to really have a little juice for the first time, the Florida State game in a while. And of course, Florida State's hot. I think they opened as about a 9.5-point favorite. So the Gators, they're going to have to really, I think, overcome some hurdles to go over there and finish this thing up like they want to.
Did Billy mention anything? Because it surprised me in the run game Saturday, because Vanderbilt was like 10th in the league against the run. We got manhandled up front, I thought. I had no problem with us throwing the football because I saw them on the back end. I was like, no, these guys are bad back there. We need to take advantage of it. But I was so surprised at how Vanderbilt kind of whipped us up front.
Yeah, I mean, they were physical. I mean, C.J. Taylor had a heck of a game. I thought that, the game just it totally went against everything I envisioned beforehand. I mean, I thought Florida would, like you're talking about now, I thought they would run the ball, be able to almost copycat their performances against A&M and South Carolina. And then Anthony, he'd make a play here and there in a throwing game, and it really worked out opposite. And, Billy didn't talk specifically about that part of the game. I mean, his focus was on, the red zone missed opportunities, too many penalties. Obviously, Vanderbilt had a 14-0 edge in points off turnovers. I just think when you look at it, Shane, I mean, they didn't do anything great in any particular aspect of the game. Offensive line was another one that, they got beat there, and it showed up on the final scoreboard. But again, I get Vandy, man, they played with some fire in that game, especially in the second half that I just thought the Gators were missing throughout. Yeah,
I thought the interception that Jason Marshall Jr. was incredible that he had. I thought our corners played pretty decent for the most part. So getting ready for Florida State, obviously it's a short week. You got a lot of guys hurt. You got Thanksgiving as well. Have you heard what the schedule is going to be like practice-wise?
I think they're moving it up. I know like with media, we got today, and I think they're going to do some things again tomorrow and Wednesday. And I think Thursday they'll probably practice and maybe head over to Tallahassee on Thursday, if I understand correctly. So, and then I'll obviously be over there on Friday for the game. So it's just going to be a kind of a shortened week. I think they'll get everything in. It's just going to be more intense than usual. But where they are coming off of what they just experienced, I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. I think they need to refocus and regroup quickly and, just try to go over there and, again, finish with a victory is something positive, because you just don't want to follow up that Vanderbilt game with another loss, but it's real likely against the Florida State team that's playing hot right now.
Yeah. Gators sit at 6-5 right now. Have you seen any of the latest bowl projections where we may go?
I saw Las Vegas. The Gator Bowl seems to be cooling off with that Notre Dame matchup. So Las Vegas is still out there. After that, Shane, it's down the list. I mean, I don't want to see them show up on the Birmingham Bowl again. But anything's possible. that's where it is when you're 6-5. I mean, don't mean to make light of it, but that's just the reality. And the big picture here. Again, we've talked so much. I mean, this season to me is all going to be about, I guess, false hope and then reality checks. Utah and then Kentucky, and then getting in the dumps after the losses to LSU and Georgia. And then they surprise us by, with that Vanderbilt or South Carolina win, they're suddenly, okay, 8-4 looks possible, big momentum. And then it's back to reality with the Vanderbilt loss. So, at this point, that's just where the program is. They got to reboot, Shane. I think we all know that. But it's a week-to-week sport. It's an emotional sport with the players, the coaches, the fans. And this is why, 1 week we're talking about them looking great and whipping South Carolina. And then next week we're talking about them can they go over to Florida State and avoid another 500 season? And then you look at South Carolina, like, how the hell did that happen against Tennessee?
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me, man.
Yeah, South Carolina's such a bad football team, but boy, do they play well.
But
John says here, before we get you out of here on Facebook Live, he says he hates the Friday night game. There are a lot of big playoff games in high school football. Yeah, that bothers me too, because high school football is so important to me. And, you know, you got people having to choose. Obviously, they're going to go watch their high school teams probably play, but this is probably just a one and done deal, right?
I hope so. I mean, it was an ACC network thing. I think Friday night game. I'm not a big fan either. I don't mind it once in a while, I guess, maybe once every 20 years. But I wouldn't want to see it like become a reality, you know, something that's consistent or normal in the series, because I'm like everybody else. I like the tradition of Saturdays and high school football on Friday nights, and you know, it's going to be different. It also just disrupts this week, you know, for everybody.
Yep. All right. Last thing. Obviously, you weren't there. You were in Nashville watching it as well. But big comeback win for Todd Golden and his crew against the Semis.
Yeah, it was first win in Tallahassee since 2012, and I remember Shane. You know, we were out that night at a staff function and looking up at halftime, and they're down 43-26.
Yeah.
And I texted Chris Harry, who was at the game. Of course, I said, "What's going on? Why did he sent me back a text?" I think they were 1 for 12 from threes, and they were just not playing well. Then, of course, the second half, it didn't take but about 5 or 6 minutes, and they're in the lead. And it was just an amazing 33-5 run. Some good news, because they needed that. I like the group that I've seen so far through 4 games. I know they had that loss against Florida Atlantic, but that's going to be a pretty good team with the Owls. So big win over there. And they're like the football program in some ways. They're in a transition mode. I think they may be a little bit ahead of the curve, because you can turn it around in basketball a little quicker. I like what they've got, and it's going to be fun to see. But no doubt a big early season win for Todd Golden against the Seminoles.
Yep, for sure. Scott, good stuff as always, buddy. Have a good Thanksgiving. We'll see you in Tallahassee.
All right, Shane, you too, bud.
Scott Carter join us on the Titan Amore Hotline. Ruzoga State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. I want to thank JC for joining us as well from Pittsburgh. I got a ton of emails about the hoodies, placing an order today. So if you email me, I emailed you back, you better email me back and confirm your size and your color, or you're going to be screwed. So anyway, we appreciate everyone chiming in today. Everybody's got their own opinions. I have mine. Y'all have yours. Gabe says ETN back in gear this week. What do you mean? Did ETN? He played the other night. So anyway, John says, what's going on with Myron Jones? He has yet to make a shot. I didn't realize that. That's not good. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed today's program. We'll be back here tomorrow with Buddy Martin, and not sure who else will be joining us. We'll figure it out. Have a great day, folks. See you tomorrow. Take care.